Okay, it says that we are live on Facebook. So welcome everybody to Beyond the Cloud for Friday, May the 28th. So our question today, Kim had a great question. So Kim, go ahead, you can ask your question.
Hi, everybody. Kim from Beyond Bookkeeping Business Services here in Southern Ontario, Niagara region. My question was about how you like your toast buttered. If you're ordering it in the restaurant or making it yourself, if it's buttered to the edges or if it doesn't matter. Myself personally, I am OCD about it being buttered to the edges. If I order it in a restaurant and it comes to me and it's not, I will ask for extra butter to do it myself. If the toast isn't still warm, I'll send it back for a fresh order that is buttered to the edges. And when I make it myself at home, I have my glasses on and I'm meticulously making sure every piece of toast is covered with butter.
Awesome. So Tanya Hiltz from founder of Cloud Business Services and Tanya's Bookkeepers Bootcamp. And if I'm making it myself, I'm buttered to the edges. I don't like dry toast. So if it's not buttered, nothing drives me more batty than getting this little tiny dollop in the middle that can't spread. If I'm at a restaurant, however, I don't want my food to be spat in. So I will just simply ask them for some jam and some jam or some peanut butter to put it on to cover it up. Rather either that or I'll just eat the part that's buttered and I'll leave the rest. Because I'm I used to work in a restaurant. Now I never spat in people's food. I did, however, send them, I worked at a golf course and my boss came in afterwards. They complained and she came in and asked me if I did it. And I said, yes, I absolutely admitted to it. And I got a bonus. What I did, they were hitting on some of the girls. I was in the back. I was the cook. And so they were hitting on the waitresses and they were really obnoxious. So they ordered a cheeseburger. So I used to do happy faces out of the condiments. I made them a sad face. And then they complained about the sad face. And yeah, my boss came in. I was in high school. She's like, yes, high five. Can't remember what she gave, some type of bonus, whatever. Anyway, so, but I don't want to be somebody to spit on my food. So I don't like sending things back because I'm always worried if it comes back, I'm like, what did they do to it? Did they drop it on the floor? I don't know. Anyway, so Stacy, you're next.
Hi, I'm Stacy Stanley Young from Stanley Young Business Strategies and from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Nice sunny day, actually, apparently warmer than Ontario. I actually prefer cheese on my toast, so no butter at all. Well, I like butter, but anyway, if I have an option between cheese and no cheese, I'd take cheese toast.
Awesome. All right, Carol.
I'm Carol Kostachuk with Carol On Call Business Services in sunny Maple Ridge, BC. And I don't do toast. I don't do bread, especially not in a restaurant. I do occasionally will splurge and have it at home. But if I'm having it at home, it's got peanut butter all the way to the edge. No butter. Because I got peanut butter.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
No butter and peanut butter at the same time. Totally there with you.
Peanut butter and then some jam on top because that's a real splurge. And that's, I think the last weekend I had it, I was so exhausted from working. I didn't even feel it making my shake.
See, I'm like you, Kim, because the butter, to me, and you probably feel the same thing, Kim, the butter absorbs into the toast, whereas the peanut butter kind of sits on top of it.
I use both.
I'm both. Yeah, I'm both. Absolutely.
Same when I'm doing jam or cheese. It's still got to have butter on it first. Otherwise, I find it too dry.
I completely agree. All right. And then Anne, I'm not sure if you're still there or if you stepped away.
I am. I'm just going to listen though.
That's okay. Okay. Perfect. So Jonathan, are you there? Nope, he stepped away. We'll come back to Jonathan. Oh, wait, there he is.
Oh. All right, I'm coming back on. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Jonathan Carter, CATA Accounting Solutions. So butter on the toast, I actually asked for it on the side because I'm with Kim. I want it all the way to the edges and I'll just do it myself.
You know what? That's actually a real nice way of doing it without having to worry about your food getting spat on, right?
But do you find when you get it on the side, it's always cold butter that's not spreadable? Like
No,
I
that
hate
drives me
when they bring me
nuts.
those little packages and they haven't
Straight out
taken
of
them
the
out
fridge, it
fridge.
drives me nuts.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
the toast
What's
is
the
not hot
point?
enough to melt it. That drives me nuts. Yeah.
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 Sorry, I got to step back.
Agree.
again.
That's okay. All right, Lawrence.
Good afternoon, Lawrence Fox here from Counting Wizard Solutions in the rainiest basement in Thornhill, Ontario. And at home, it's margarine. At restaurants, it's butter. And no, it's not all the way to the edges because how else are you supposed to pick it up without getting butter on your fingers?
By the side.
It's
I'm not that picky. I pick it up with my, no, I am not, I am definitely not an all the way to the edges guy. I may go over the edge a couple of times with other things, but not with the butter on my food.
Awesome. Ruby.
But I probably would not mix butter and peanut butter. No.
Okay. Oh, Ruby, you're up next.
Yeah, not eating bread right now, but when I did, don't care that if there's butter on it, I don't need it to the edges. I'm not that particular. I do enjoy bread when I eat it, but yeah, don't eat it often. So.
All right. And Jessica, last but not least.
Hi, Jessica Fox from sunny Florida virtual bookkeeper. And I don't eat toast a whole lot, but when I used to order it at restaurants, I used to joke, it's like, I want a little bit of bread with my butter. But the problem is that they did not always get that right. So then I will try to ask for the butter on the side, but then it was that issue. Sometimes it was not spreadable or the toast wasn't warm enough for it to melt. So now my solution is I only do the butter at home where I have control on the edge to edge, even distribution. Cannot have a massive glob here and a little bit there. It has to be precise. So when I go to restaurants, I tend to ask for fruit jelly, and that way it saves me the aggravation. It's easy for the servers. I don't have to send anything back.
Awesome.
I'm
What if-
assuming fruit jelly is jam.
Yes, in the US, jam is a thicker version, whereas jelly is thinner and spreadable, but you can buy both at the
Oh, okay.
supermarket. But normally restaurants will only have jelly unless you're going to one of those farm to table places.
Okay, I didn't realize that was a difference between them, that there was, I just assumed they were the same thing, just, depending on where you're from, called different things. Oh, interesting.
Exactly.
I'm sure that in some parts it is, but if I go to the supermarket right now, there'll be jellies, there'll be yams, and then there'll be preserves. And it goes from really thin and spreadable to medium thickness to kind of chunky. You need to scoop it out with a spoon.
Oh, that's my
Gotcha.
thing. Yeah.
What a bunch of OCD bookkeepers do you have here?
That's why we're so good with numbers.
Speaking of peanut butter, by the way,
What's the blue one?
this version of Kraft, which is the unsweetened, unsalted, seems to
Oh.
have disappeared from stores where I live. So if
Good.
anybody spots it anywhere in Canada, please buy a jar or two, let me know and I'll pay for the postage because I don't want the sweetened or the salty. And it seems to
So
have
switch to
disappeared.
Adams. Switch to Adams.
Okay,
Adams all natural. That's what I use.
okay.
See, we like the
Depends-
Kraft, the
depends
yellow,
whatever
the
is
extra
cheaper, but
creamy.
I get
and
the
if-
extra
and Adams
creamy
may not
too.
be available where we shop either.
Oh,
The yellow one.
The other
It
thing I
melts.
can't find is Campbell's vegetarian vegetable soup. That seems to have disappeared too.
The yellow peanut butter melts better than any of them.
Exactly. That's exactly why I like it. Nice, just melting in there. Yeah. Okay. So Diane joined us in time to answer the question. So Diane, you can introduce yourself. And the question is, your toast. Do you like it buttered all the way to the edges, or do you not care, or dry, or whichever?
Okay, that's a good question.
Especially in a restaurant.
Diane Mueller, Soma Small Business Solutions, and Trifold Bookkeeper Advisor. I'm pretty fussy about my toast. You can ask my husband, it drives him nuts because he's typically making them, but it can't be too dark. Don't like dark toast. And then typically I don't want butter on it if I'm having it with eggs. But if I'm not having it with eggs, then yes, you can put butter on it. But if I'm going to have it with my favorite spread, which is Nutella, then don't put butter on first either.
You know what? I agree with you with that butter, but I don't have toast and Nutella. I will have nice, fresh baked bread like that day with Nutella.
Right.
Do you know that somebody watching this thing who is not a bookkeeper is going to say that this is such a typical group of bookkeepers, so picky about their toast, right to the, I'm counting, picky, 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 not
Picky. I'm double
picky, not, I'm going, it's like somebody watching this tape who's not an accountant or a bookkeeper is going to go, it's true.
You know, when I was a kid, my mom used to call my toast warm bread because I liked it so pale with very little. I didn't like it too crunchy. It couldn't be too crispy.
You
So
want
she used
lightly
to call,
toasted toast.
yeah, she used to call my toast basically warm bread. It's a little darker now. I still don't like it dark. It's still more on the lighter side, but yeah.
My goodness gracious. Every time we see him, Jessica, he looks more and more like you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. But he came over because he was interested in giving his 2 cents on the toast debate.
Yes, let's hear it.
Please do.
Go ahead.
Lots of butter everywhere. Like
That's right.
butter
Awesome.
makes everything better, is what I say.
It a boy after my own heart. There you go.
It goes
Now, like
super
a chef
thick.
in the making. Butter and bacon make everything better.
Oh,
Yes.
bacon, but it's got to be it's got to be crispy.
Yeah, no.
Crispy, but yet still chewy.
Yes.
Yes.
Not
Yes.
crispy.
But chewy. Yeah.
You know
And
what we
it
had?
crumble. Yeah.
I'll have to take your word on the bacon.
Yes.
Right.
Well, now, Lawrence, do you know what we had the other day? Our local butcher actually made some beef bacon.
What?
Beef
I've
bacon.
heard
It
beef
was
bacon, turkey bacon.
Kind of like beef jerky?
no. It was actually bacon. No, it was leaner than what a traditional bacon would be, but a nice. It was a nice alternative.
It's not the leanness that matters to me.
Yes,
It's the source of the meat.
I realized that.
That's interesting. Okay. So before we went, because Ruby had a great question, and then there was something else. I don't even remember what the heck it was. Oh, yes, that we were talking about. Right. Differences between Canada and the States bookkeeping in different areas. So yes. So we had a few things of topics to talk about, but I wanted to take a moment and just congratulate, Jonathan wasn't here earlier, both Jessica and Jonathan for making the top 100 Pro Advisor list. Yay, congratulations. This is the, I'm going to post the link in there to vote, and shameful plug here, I'm on the list too. So if you want to vote and you don't know who to vote for, there's 3 of us here.
Well, Jessica and Jonathan are new. It is a
Yes.
given that you're always on the list. So we knew that.
But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the, when I saw Jonathan, guys, because this is Jonathan's first year. Now, Jessica, is this your first year? Were you on there last year? I thought you were last year on there.
I don't think I was last year. I've
Oh,
been in
okay.
other lists for things, but I don't think Pro Advisor has been one of them.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. And so so if anybody is interested too in how it's not just that, so you can be nominated or you can self-nominate for this. It is not just a popularity contest. There is actual things. So when you have been nominated, there's a questionnaire that you go through and fill in. And I'm not sure what percentage the votes take into account, but I thought it was a bigger percentage. But Murph had explained to us last year that no, it's actually not. It's a lot on your education, your certifications, the training, that you do, those that are trainers. So it's a lot focused on the technical side of our jobs, keeping up with information, keeping current, again, getting ourselves educated, the CPD credits, making sure that we've got current certifications, in apps. So there's 10 different topics, and each topic does have that. And it's a point system based on that, so that it truly is that, the people that have made this list means you've made the cut for that. And then those that make the top 100, of course, it's all based on the point system. So The voting has a little bit to do with it. Again, I don't know how much, but it was really interesting. I'll try and see if I can find that interview and put it in to see how it was written, or what is in there. So definitely for everybody who made the list, I know I tagged everybody that I could find in the group. And if anybody's listening to this who I did not tag your name in Bookkeepers Corner group earlier, I couldn't, like, that means that your name is different enough that I wasn't sure if you were the same person or not. So please just send me a little note. I can easily go in and edit and add it in, and nobody else will know any different. So, because we don't want to do that, but I don't want to leave anybody out that has made that list. So congratulations, but yes. So that's awesome. I just shared the link and I'll share it in the chat here as well too, our chat, but it's in the Facebook chat as well. So there we go. And there's, you know what, there's a ton of people on there. There's absolutely a ton of people on there that are very well deserving. It's very, very difficult to try to pick 3 people. Don't pick your 3 people until you've gone all the way through the list, because, you know, the first time I did, as I went further down, there was somebody that I felt, you know, might have been more deserving than the other, or maybe you just want to vote for somebody because it's their first time on the list and, you know, they've not been on it before, and you don't want to vote for the people whose names you're sick and tired of seeing. I get that too. And, you know, I sometimes take that into consideration as well too when I do the voting, right? So, and sometimes it's good to get the, you know, the new names in there and whatnot, but take a look at the names, everybody on the list before you make your decision.
Something I'll say about that is that sometimes I want to vote for more than 3 people, so it's 3 per email address. I have
Thank you.
multiple
Yep.
email address. I spread the love around.
There we go.
These are fun,
Absolutely.
eh?
There we go. So if you've got multiple email addresses and more than 3 people you want to vote for, that's a perfect way to do it. Absolutely.
Good to
And
know.
Anne just pointed out that it's alphabetical by last name in the list.
Well, that makes it easier.
Yeah, it does. It does. Okay, so Ruby had actually emailed me a question earlier that I thought would probably be a really good topic. So hopefully we can get through both topics today. So Ruby, go ahead and share your conundrum.
Yeah, so I have a couple clients now that are using, like, you know, sales platforms to for their sales, and so we enter them monthly to save, you know, every single entry, but we're finding that often it doesn't match with what, like, the money that's coming in often is from many different avenues, and we are taking in consideration the costs of, you know, the merchant fees, but it still doesn't match. And sometimes it's like hundreds out, and sometimes it's even thousands out, and it just doesn't make any sense. So we're
these
trying to figure out
platforms-
a better way to do it. Sorry?
I was just gonna ask, are these platforms like Amazon, Shopify, Etsy?
Yeah, like, yeah, and then there's Jane, there's yeah, there's
Yeah,
Stripe,
pretty much any
there's,
other.
yeah, just anything.
Yeah.
Like, they're all the
So-
sales kind of platforms, but I mean, sometimes it could be that things are changing in it. One is particular, is from is a franchise one that is done through their company, and we can go on and the numbers have changed even. So it's like, that's a problem when things change along the way. And I mean, with the multitudes of stuff that go through, I mean, you can't sit and try to figure out what exactly is going on. So I just
So-
wondered how everybody else was dealing with that.
Yeah, so I know what we do, and we've got somebody, a client that we've just brought on, and they have Shopify, Ticketmaster, Square. Then they've actually got like 7 or 8. It's a minor league hockey team. So there's a lot that comes in, and thank goodness we're bringing them on, and there's really not much going on, because if we were to bring them on and try to sort this out, because their books were a little bit of a mess when they were in full swing of their season, there's just no way we could do it. So what we've done with them is we've separated each form into its own clearing accounts. We've got Shopify clearing, ticket clearing, and whatnot. Jonathan, yes, but no, they're not them anymore. Yeah. But
That's awesome.
yeah, so anyway, yeah, because no, they moved and then somebody else came in. Anyway, but So yeah, so what we've done is we've done that. And yeah, the accountant is the GM, and he's come in and he said, you know, he didn't really, he thought I was overcomplicating things. And I said, you know what, please just trust me. You know, you came to us because we're on QBO. You guys have had like 5 bookkeepers in 3 years. You know, you weren't happy with all of this. Just you've come to us because, you know, you trust us. Please just trust me on this. This month alone, I was able to prove it. Why they needed to trust us on this, because the Shopify reports were wrong. And there was $2,000 more received than was in the bank account. So what we do, Shopify comes in, we reconcile Shopify every month. So I see the money comes in when the Shopify code comes in, I have it automatically move over to the Shopify clearing account, and we reconcile that Shopify clearing account every single month and take out the fees. And then that way you can see if there was anything missing. They've got, again, a Moneris account. Everything goes to Moneris. We reconcile Moneris, and that's when we account for the fees. You know, the Ticketmaster, the same thing. We do all of that, and we do reconcile those accounts. And it takes nothing to reconcile it when it's all set up beautifully, but it works for us separating them out that way. And one thing to keep in mind is that it might be on the report as the money being received, but there is a delay from then to when the money goes into the bank account. So we essentially reconcile it to zero. It's always to zero. And we look and say, okay, no, those ones didn't get deposited, like they were, you know, received or recorded here on the last day of the month. So we leave them almost like it's in an undeposited funds so that they come up the beginning of the month next month. And if they're not caught on that report, that's when we know there's an immediate, you know, an issue. So that's how we deal with it. Anybody else thoughts?
I love clearing accounts. They're my best friend whenever there's anything messy and tangled like this, because the challenge is the reports in these platforms is very hit or miss. Sometimes the reports that they have are severely lacking. You have to pull several different reports. Some platforms, there's no report that will give you everything. You just have to have the platform open to look at the things. But yes, I find that discrepancies most commonly occur from reporting not accounting for sales tax correctly, that, you know, the platform did calculate it correctly, but the report doesn't reflect it. Returns, refunds, anything that may be kept in escrow, and timing differences, because sometimes the platform uses a completely different time zone than your client is using. So something that, you know, it reflects in the report as this month, for the purposes of the transfer, may not actually clear until the following month. So by using the clearing accounts, like Tanya says, just keep it to zero. And if it's very high volume, I may reconcile it weekly to zero, because it allows me to really narrow down if there's a discrepancy when it happened. So it really depends on the volume. I usually do monthly, but for some of the platforms that are really hairy, I may do it more frequently, just because it saves me time in the end if I need to drill down and find where there's an issue.
I used to have that problem with one client that used Moneris to process credit cards. And regularly it required some deep digging. There were always outstanding transactions, and there were always ones that would show up on Moneris report, but didn't necessarily go into the bank until the next day, or their other problem was there would be 17 invoices. They were a plumber, and they had 4 guys out on the road doing work, and there'd be a stack of invoices, but for some reason or another, one of those credit cards would not get processed to the next day's batch, even though it was in today's pile of invoices, and you could go crazy. I mean, it took hours sometimes to get that reconciled, because I wanted to do it right, as opposed to just say, oh, I'm just going to guess it's, you know, it's outstanding, because sooner or later you're going to get screwed.
So I just want to say, like, my first interesting experience that made me shy away from adopting the new shiny toys early was a bad integration in a Xero platform that resulted in 16,000 transactions per month being posted, double posted. Now, Xero was fantastic. I got support from an actual coder, but I literally had to run an extra computer for 3 days to back out all those transactions. And manually, I mean, that would have been like, there goes my month, right? Like, and then probably more. I agree about, like, you know, trust but verify. I found reports within a platform don't reconcile to each other in the past. And I find that the platforms have been very, very, very slow to take any action on it. And I think until, governing bodies really hold their feet to the fire, I mean, I'm still getting charged by apps that should be charging us HST and are not. And I'm sure everybody's doing that. And other big name technology companies, Google being one of them, just brought in HST. Google, like they've been in Canada for years. Like, anyway, trust but verify. And I don't know if there's a recording of it around anywhere, but Seth David did, it wasn't well received, but he did an excellent job about talking about reconciling Amazon using spreadsheets. And that one was really good. And yeah, I would say clearing accounts, but we've shied away from e-commerce for these reasons, actually.
Jonathan, that stuff will get all cleaned up with the HST, GST, and PST by July 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the new legislation comes in that out of country apps and software, digital, anything digital must charge the appropriate taxes to all Canadian clients.
That's just it, though, is some of these companies have been operating in Canada with Canadian.
Yep.
For
yeah, and we were all
it,
self-assessing to be able to pay the taxes, which has been a big pain in the ass. But they're really coming down on every one of them, and you'll notice now Dext is now charging the correct taxes. HubDoc is still, it's charging the federal, but it's not charging the provincial quite right yet. So yeah, but they've got till July 1st to get that their house in order.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to conclude, no, but everybody does it monthly and you all use clearing accounts.
Yeah.
Okay, that's, so I use clearing accounts too. So it's just still a matter of finding out why it must be the programs themselves then if I have issues.
Well, and once you get into it, like I say, it's easy. If you just reconcile every single account month by month, get the report, you'll be able to see, oh, look, there's $400 that were out. Oh, look, that was received on the 31st, didn't make it into the bank account. Oh yeah, here it is. It was deposited on the 1st or 2nd. It'll become really evident to you. And this month, because the Shopify was messed up on this, again, this account that I was saying. And so I we just said, okay, we couldn't, he didn't want to spend time. So we wrote the difference off to fees, wherever he said to put it. And then this month I went back and I said, no, your Shopify report's wrong. He came back and he says, no, it's right. I'm like, no, it's wrong. Sure enough, they went back, they pulled it, they got to Shopify. The Shopify report in the back end, from my understanding, just excluded some dates in the range. I said, no, there's $2,000 of income that's unreported here. But by having it on that granular of a level that only Shopify goes into the Shopify clearing account, we were able to easily identify that right at the time instead of waiting and all of this stuff. So it's, yeah, I would say separate them out into each one, do a clearing account, reconcile it, and you'll be able to see exactly what's going on.
Shopify was the, sorry, I was just gonna say Shopify was the one where we couldn't reconcile Shopify reports to Shopify reports. And that was really, really frightening.
And that's the one we're having issues with too. So.
And A2X I've only used for the original Amazon 2.0 functionality, but we found that worked excellent.
What is that?
A2X. They've expanded to QuickBooks Online, Shopify, and I believe one other platform.
I've never heard of that.
I believe
just the letters.
I believe, yeah. I've spoken with Teresa Slack, who is the go-to person when you have an online client like this, and A2X was the one that she had recommended.
Yeah,
now
she uses them.
That client decided to go somewhere else before I finished that investigation, but
see, but we don't integrate. We don't integrate. We just literally simply take the monthly reports. And
that's what we do too.
I don't like integrating. The more that integrates, the more it buggers up. So I'd rather take the reports, and either I'd prefer to have the reports put in as a daily sales receipts, in which case we use Business Importer to do that. In this case, they just want it monthly. They don't want it daily, which is fine. We then attach their monthly receipt with the breakdown there. And because we use the clearing account, it's all still fine and it works. It's not the way I'd prefer to do it, but at the end of the day, everything is still being accounted for. And
Sorry,
So-
what do you do? You do them
we do a sales,
daily?
I would do a sales receipt. The money goes to from Shopify only. Money goes to Shopify clearing. Instead of on deposit funds, it goes to Shopify clearing. And then that's when I go in and I reconcile the Shopify. And then I do 1 monthly sales receipt for them.
Oh, 1 month. I thought you said daily.
Well,
Sorry.
you know what? And I do prefer to do daily if they'll do that. And then I use Business Importer to just import everything in from the CVS file. And it imports just like that.
What's Business Importer?
Business Importer imports anything from CSV into QBO. There, you can also use Transaction Pro. I prefer Business Importer. It's much easier. I find it much easier to map. It will also use a link from a Google Sheet as well as an Excel file to upload. Oh, Jonathan, like he likes his Google Docs. Yeah, it's really, really good. And so we use that on about 7 or 8 different clients monthly that we get their reports. And if their reports come in PDF, we have PDF to Excel that was a one-time license purchase that I just pop it up there, comes down into Excel, maybe spend a minute or 2 of editing, and then boom, pull it in. And then we have some companies that give us really long, ridiculous reports, but they're always in the same format. So what we do is we then create a template and a tab, and the tab is our importer tab. So we just have it to pull the information that we need. So that way we don't have to fuss with the report and delete all the columns and accidentally delete something else. We just have to make sure, because the odd time last month, they gave us a different report. And Leanne was like, I don't know what the heck is going on. And I took one look and I said, column 2 doesn't match our column 2, the header. So they've obviously either the report's changed or they've pulled a different report. So we had to go in and mess with it again. But then that way I can get the daily information in easily mapped, and it saves the mapping. It's beautiful. Business Importer, you got to look at it.
And you said in Business Importer, there's something that will take us PDF and put it into a spreadsheet?
No, that's a different software. That's we found PDF to Excel is what I like. Some people like Money Thumb. Money Thumb is a little bit more expensive. I looked into it and I tried several different ones before I committed. I wanted to find one that had the lowest error rate. And so that's the one we've been satisfied with. But like I say, I know Money Thumb, a lot of people really love Money Thumb.
I just bought it and I haven't found that I was getting any good reports at all. And we ended up just throwing it back into a receipt bank or text now.
Try PDF to Excel.
Okay.
Yeah, we find that works with us. That works well with us.
Okay. I like that.
I find that when it comes to those types of clients too, and I mean, maybe this is going off on a bit of a tangent, but you understand what's going on with their sales channels and needing to reconcile these things and whatnot, but they probably haven't been doing it and probably have missing issues, missing transaction issues going back. I'd be curious, how do you actually get them to pay for the work? Because we found that a lot of companies is like, oh my God, that's way too expensive. It's like, well, then narrow down to 2 channels or 3 channels instead of having 8. I was just throwing that out there.
So we give them, when we price them, we give them options, and we've started pulling the last 2 years, I guess, using what's called a client flow chart. And essentially it's meant to show the value of what we do. And it's basically kind of like a menu, and we go down and we say, okay, here's what's included. What's white is what we do automatically. We're gonna, you're gonna do the make sure that you're invoicing, you're gonna do your invoicing directly in QuickBooks, and we're gonna take care of your expenses and blah, blah, blah. If you use a separate point of sale system, now it's a different color. It might be like blue, I think, for a higher level, in which case we charge more, and then green might be the next higher level. So blue is like, we'll take your reports and we'll put it in with the monthly summary, but that is not necessarily going to be fully CRA compliant. If CRA is going to come in and do an audit, that's not necessarily the best way to go, but you need to make that decision. As long as we have the full reports, we can still work with it, but just know that again might not be satisfactory, or there might be additional work that we're not going to cover in the case of a review or audit that won't be covered under the basic. Then there's the next level up. And again, that's where we're going to go. That's the fully compliant level that we're going to take and have your daily. sales in there, your daily this, and we're going to extract that from your report. And if somebody says, I want my point of sale system connected to QBO, I will charge more for that because I know it's a pain in the butt. So I will charge more over using Business Importer. So there's not a big difference between the monthly summary to the daily summary from CSV reports, because we price it to where we want them to go. So we do minimal difference from there. And then if they want to, attach their, like, enough so that we can cover our software, obviously, and whatnot, but we'll charge maybe 50, 60, less than $100 difference a month for that. And then if they want their point of sale software done, now that means that we might have to step in. It might mess up our QBO files. It might do this. There might be a lot of extra troubleshooting that we have to do on the technical side. So we're going to charge a ton more because we don't want that. So that's how we handle it. And we tell them the value. We make sure that they know what CRA is going to look at, what we're going to cover in a case of backup. And then again, if we have it clearly lined out, like separated out on the quote and clearly separated out on the our pricing agreement, exactly what's covered. And, especially again, if they're not going with giving us the daily information to enter, we will only cover basic CRA inquiries. We will not cover CRA reviews. So that's how we get them to go where we want them to go, because it's going to end up being more expensive for them. Rather than just give us the information, let us do it right the first time.
I like that.
Yeah, I think that's key.
Yeah. Sorry, Ruby, Lawrence uses ProsperSoft, he typed in. He says it's a bit cheaper than Money Thumb and it's Canadian and their tech support is superb. So that's another one to look into. I've not heard of them. But just like everything, there's options to everything. We do it there. And it's just what option is best for you, right? So.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, Diane, sorry.
So I have a question around, I know that a couple of people, and I think you did too, Tanya, was to take Kathy's course, the Microsoft course.
Yep.
And I think you came out feeling really good about it and you were able to actually save some money and things. So my question is around the Microsoft bookings. Did you move to it?
Yes.
I did not. Carol did, because Carol and I were in the same course.
Okay.
I moved, my biggest savings was I went off of share file, which was $255 US every quarter.
Yep.
So SharePoint, it's already included, I'm already paying for it. And then bookings, I was using Acuity, but I was using the free version. So it's kind of mediocre, but now I'm under bookings. And then everything else. I mean, I was shocked at my first session where we logged in, how many apps that are included that we're already paying for in Microsoft 365 for Business.
Yeah. No, I use Microsoft 365. I use Microsoft 365 and I have for years. But my question around is how bookings was working for you, because I have used it and it's been just fine for me because that's always a one-on-one situation. But what I'm having trouble with in bookings is actually automating it so that when someone makes an appointment, it automatically will set up the Zoom.
Well, so you'd be using Teams and not Zoom.
Yeah, no, I don't want to use Teams for that.
I can't answer that question.
Yeah.
You'd have to ask.
I actually, and I have a workaround. So,
okay.
Yeah. So what I'm using, and we did the same thing with Calendly. We're not with Calendly anymore, but Lawrence is a Calendly lover expert, and he has a Calendly course that he has as well too. Get a shameful plug in there for him. So we use Calendar Hero, which was just something we bought through AppSumo, and I didn't want to pay monthly. I paid a one-time fee for a lifetime fee, and I love it. What we've done with those though is we actually set it up in, so we could integrate, but I found, again, sometimes I don't like integrations. And so I found it was just simpler to, what are your choices? Your choices are a phone call meeting, a Zoom meeting at X link, and I use my personal meeting link. And then it automatically puts the appointment into my calendar. And now they have my personal meeting link, and my personal meeting link has the waiting room turned on so that I can see them come into the waiting room. And then I have to admit them when it's their time. So if I'm back to back, I can control who comes in.
So you've got the link, the Zoom link embedded, essentially
in their options.
embedded in the bookings.
Well, no, because I don't use bookings. I use Calendar Hero, but when I use Calendly, it was the same thing. So you could use it for bookings if you put it in your options. What are your options? A phone call, a Zoom meeting at X link. So I'm putting it as one of the options. So Lawrence has got something to say about that.
So
Sorry.
first of all, I did want to say, speaking of Calendly, since I want to thank everybody who filled in the questionnaire where I was asking whether or not adding a booking application to your business improved your business life. Hello. I got a lot of reactions from people and some really, really interesting statistics, which I will share with the group another day. Diane, let me ask you, the question is, so somebody is booking an appointment with you and then you want it to auto-magically set up a Zoom session to go along with that appointment.
Yes.
Okay. So there are a couple of ways of doing that. Now it depends. You see, I have that set up because I've got my calendar, I've got Calendly, and I've got Zoom all talking to each other, and it sets it up and it creates. What I've done is I've given every meeting gets a unique ID and a unique password that gets assigned to that meeting. But another way of doing it is you always have the same room number and the same password that you send.
Which is why I use the personal one. Exactly.
Right, as opposed to generating one. And then that way, what would simply happen is when somebody books it up. So the first step is if they book, the problem is you want to get your calendar to talk to Zoom so that if you looked in either one, you would see the appointment.
Yes.
Okay. So you need somehow getting your calendar to talk to Zoom. So
And I don't, and Bookings doesn't.
So
I do know Bookings
if
doesn't.
Bookings doesn't have a native connection to Zoom. The second question is whether or not you can do it through one of the automation softwares that's out there, like Zapier or.
But I don't think you need to do, like, I don't think you really, like, I don't look at my Zoom calendar.
That's one way of doing it. The other way is, of course, if you give everybody always the same meeting room ID when they book it, it will be there when they book the event, but it won't create it in. Diane's problem is she wants it created both in her calendar and in Zoom. So no matter where she looks, she sees the appointment. Because right now somebody books an appointment in her calendar,
yes,
and it doesn't go into Zoom itself to create an appointment in Zoom.
So I have to manually go do that.
Right.
But why do you have to look at Zoom?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Like if you use your personal look, because I don't look at my Zoom calendar, I simply sign in and start my personal meeting when my Outlook calendar tells me I have a Zoom meeting.
I don't necessarily need to look at Zoom. I need to know that it created the appointment, because currently right now I have to do that manually. I don't want to do that. That's too many steps.
No,
right. So
you don't
use your personal room.
Yeah.
Always use the same room ID. It doesn't have to be your personal one. You can go into Zoom and create a permanent ID that's not your personal one.
Yeah, because it's actually not a personal one. It's for Trifold. So
right.
it's a.
But yeah, as long as you have the link, then that's exactly, you just add the link. It will create in the calendar. As long as it creates in your Outlook calendar, you then sign into Zoom and just start that meeting. It won't necessarily show, like Lawrence says, it won't show as a meeting in Zoom, but as long as you know which meeting to start, a permanent meeting ID, and start that.
That's it. You need a permanent meeting ID and a permanent password. That's the same for no matter what. And so when I go to book the appointment with you in meetings, and somewhere in there, either on the screen or as the email that gets generated or whatever it is from meeting, I get an email that says, Lawrence, our meeting is Tuesday at 2:00. The Zoom room number is 4242 and the password is FUBAR. And that's what you send to everybody, no matter what the meeting is, all the time.
Yeah, I don't want to send it. I want it to send it.
I don't, that's, again, I don't know enough about meeting, but the Microsoft product to say whether or not it sends an email. But if it does, and you can write the email, that's the template that you use for the email within
Right.
meeting that says, "Dear X, you know, just confirming our appointment on.
Yes.
Room ID is 4242, password is FUBAR, and you have set up Zoom that is the only meeting room and password that it will always use." Don't ask me how to do that. I didn't bother figuring it out because I always went with the one that was automatically generated, because that way it made it a little bit more secure to my mind, that there was only there was a special room number and a special password for the conversation that I was going to have with you this afternoon. And that if we needed another conversation next week, it would need another room number and another password.
Yeah.
You
See,
log on with that.
and that's where I turned on my waiting room so that I don't let people, so if somebody wants to show up early, that's fine. I'm not letting you in until your meeting time, especially if I'm on with somebody else.
Yeah, we have that turned on.
Yeah. Kim?
I was just gonna say, I use bookings and it needs to be set up exactly the way Tanya, your type of booking that a person can do. They can book a phone call, they can book a Zoom meeting, whatever you want to call them, and then have that permanent meeting ID like Lawrence was saying. And when you set up your booking style for Zoom meeting, you put that right into the text body of the message that they get when they book, and it goes automatically. You don't need to do anything.
Okay, who's gonna help me do that? So I get it right. Who can do that? Hey guys, I'm totally up to paying for whatever time it takes for you to do it. I'm not asking for any favors. I just want this damn thing done.
Diane, if I knew what I was doing, I would send you a link in 20 seconds flat. We'll work out an appointment, but I don't use bookings. So I
Well, and
couldn't.
that's exactly, I'm the same thing. I'm good with the Zoom side. I could only assume on the booking side, but I don't use bookings, so.
Carol put her
I am
hand up, so
logging-
maybe she can help you.
I am logging into bookings right now, and I will screen share and show you exactly where it is.
Are you okay
So,
doing
Carol,
that, or
what-
do you want to wait until we close off? Like, is there any information that would show that you don't want people to see?
I'll let you know when I log in.
Okay.
I got two-factor
Because
authentication.
we are live, right?
on stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
Carol?
exactly.
Yes.
Carol, what do you use? You said
I
you-
switched and started using bookings.
And
I
that's with Excel, like that's with Google or
Microsoft.
With
Microsoft?
Microsoft.
Yeah.
And you said it's included in the 365?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, and
Yeah,
then,
and we would have used over, except for I already had Calendar Hero and it's a lifetime. So
Yeah.
I've paid for it. I don't get my money back. So why bother
Okay.
learning something
I mean,
new if I'm
No,
not
that
going to
makes
see
sense.
any benefit?
and then you
Diane.
use Teams.
I have started using Teams, but I am not proficient with it. And so when I'm in a rush, I have continually defaulted to Zoom.
And then,
So-
but then you have,
Ooh.
but the team meetings would be set up and that's included as well?
Yep.
Yes, Teams is included as well. Yes.
That's cool. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I'm waiting for
I was
Teams
shocked when the-
webinar.
Find out how
And
many
then I'm-
apps were included.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Teams webinar to come through, which is supposed to be this summer. And then I'm going to start moving over. And as long as it can do everything Zoom will do, then I will be saving money there too.
I use Teams internally with my staff at the moment. So that's made things better. And then when I have to do recordings and stuff, it's right there. So
You can record in Teams?
Yeah.
You just can't do webinars
Yet.
yet. Okay.
I mean, I still happen to like Zoom a little better than Teams, because the one thing I like best about Zoom is it puts the name in that little box. Because I find with Teams, there's no name. I don't necessarily know who I'm talking to, especially in a group setting.
yeah.
And you can't do backgrounds. Like
Okay.
my
That's the other thing I don't
hearing
like Teams.
hearing at the city the other day, everybody got to see my ugly green screen behind me because City of Vaughan uses Teams.
Well, you know what? You can, I was going to say that only shares for your view, not everybody else's view. I was going to say you actually can put people in seats. It'll put the heads
Oh,
in
yeah.
seats.
I just
So
Okay.
Diane, you can see my screen, yeah?
Yes, I
Yeah.
can. Thank you.
So, and you know how to get into
Yeah.
bookings,
Yeah.
right? So once you're in there, you go to your services and you set up the types of meetings that you want to have. So,
Yep.
and you know, how long they last and so on
Yep.
and so forth. So these 3 that I have set up as actual meetings, when
Yes.
I go into them, there's all this
Yes,
section at the bottom that's
Yes.
the email confirmation that the person gets when they book.
yes,
And I have my Ring Central, which is Zoom, but I pay for it through Ring Central because it's part of a package price that I have with them. But this is my permanent meeting ID. So that is attached in every email confirmation automatically as soon as the person books a meeting, as opposed to a phone, like my phone call meeting doesn't have the link in it, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have phone calls, so yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So just go in there, and what is that box actually called? Just notes or something?
Additional
It's called
information.
additional information for
Okay.
email confirmation.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and that's the same thing. Again, I have a phone call meeting type and the Zoom. So when they pick the Zoom, this again, same type of thing. The email goes out with my Zoom instructions. If they pick the phone call, a different email goes out. So
Right.
exactly the same.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but it's just a matter of picking your permanent link, whether you use the personal one that's given, whether you create a new one. I didn't realize you could create a new one, like Lauren said, as long as it's a permanent link you're using, and then you just go into the same one every
All
time.
your emails, yeah.
So that one, I don't know how it works with Zoom because like I said, I access it through Ring Central. That one does show up in my Ring Central calendar as well. So I can access it from both Outlook or Ring Central because the integration is there.
Right.
I don't actually go into the Ring Central one very often. But if I do go into it, it does, like I could have showed you where I was sharing my screen. If I go into my Ring Central calendar, it does show up there still.
See, and then from Zoom, I either log in or my Zoom desktop. You can click start meeting, and then I just pick to start my the personal meeting ID, so I can click right from
Yeah.
there, or I log in and click to start that meeting.
Exactly. I can start the meeting through
Yeah.
Ring Central or through Outlook. So
And then when you're,
So
if you're
what is
on your
Ring Central?
personal,
What is Ring Central?
so
Sorry,
Go ahead,
Ring
Stacey.
Central is a VoIP system.
Okay.
Ring Central
how
actually
they started.
it's how they started, and they to get sort of the visual or the video conferencing call, they've actually purchased Zoom.
No, I don't think so.
I don't
Zoom
know about
purchased-
purchased. I know they've partnered with
Partnered.
Zoom.
Maybe it's partner with. It's the same platform.
It's the
Okay.
It's
So-
identical.
So
as a
they've white labeled
presenter.
it from them.
When somebody accesses one of my meetings through Ring Central, they have to access it through Ring Central. They can't just go into Zoom and put in my meeting ID. They have to access it through Ring Central. On my screen, on my presenter screen, it actually says powered by Zoom. I don't think my attendees see that part, but all of the settings and options and audio settings, like everything is identical to Zoom. It's just they have to access
So
it
does
through
Ring Central act like a booking application like Calendly and
No,
or-
it's phone. It's your communication.
okay.
So they
Not
started as a
traditional
VoIP
calendar.
phone system. So I have my phone and my fax and my toll-free number, and now my video conferencing is all through them, and I pay an annual package price. Because I used to have my toll-free number was through Grasshopper, who I had learned was in the past was who Juliet was using, and I think she's switched to somebody else now as well. But every time, because I'm already using them, every time they add another feature, if it's something that I'm paying for somewhere else that I can include with them, I cancel it. So I was paying for Zoom separately. And when they created this partnership, it's just one less application that I need to pay for.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like my Office 365. I try to eliminate as much as I can. Now, I did just recently purchase Book Like a Boss, which I believe is who Jessica is still using. And because she had an extra copy, it was a lifetime deal that was on AppSumo. Because where I found bookings lacking was in how pretty I can make it look on like a landing page, for example. Now I've seen Kathy's booking screen and hers looks very pretty. So I'm certain that there's probably some features that have been added to bookings since I started using it that maybe I haven't gone in and updated how pretty it looks. But that's part of why I wanted Book Like a Boss, because it looked a lot prettier. I haven't actually switched to using Book Like a Boss yet. I have bought it, but it was a lifetime deal. So that's where I found bookings was a little bit lacking, but obviously it's not anymore because Kathy's bookings page looks great. I didn't even, if I didn't know she was our Microsoft queen, I wouldn't know it was bookings when I looked at it.
I mean, Microsoft is playing catch up with both bookings and Teams.
Right.
Compared to what else is out there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Whether or not they'll ever catch up and produce a better product is only God knows.
Who knows?
And whether or not they'll end up Betamaxing Zoom like they did to WordPerfect, I have no idea either.
Well, it's funny, my calendar hero that I bought, they were something else, and that they were actually Zoom dot something else, Zoom.ai. So then they changed their name, rebranded to Calendar Hero, and they give you an assistant, and your assistant's name is Ava. So that way it just looks a little bit more personal. So the email comes back out, and you can change your personal assistant's name, whatever. I haven't even gotten into all that it does, but essentially it's like, okay, here's the meeting that you've booked with Tanya, blah, 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 and Ava, whatever. A person was replying to do all of this and couldn't understand. Finally, they stood me up and couldn't understand why, and they thought I stood them up. And I guess my emails were going to their spam folder. When they finally found it, it's for a podcast interview I was supposed to do. And when they finally found it, they said, well, I emailed your assistant, Ava. I don't know why she's not passing any of this along.
You mean I could have an assistant called Jarvis?
You could. You could. I just didn't bother changing Ava's name, but yeah, you could have Jarvis, absolutely. But
Or Jeeves.
Might not put out fires.
geez, whatever. I just
Jeez.
kind of laughed and I'm like, no, Ava's the AI and just trying to make it look a little nicer, but Ava's not a person.
The nerve. Ooh,
They
ooh.
were in
You almost say Ava got
Minerva.
that, right?
Oh, well, that's it. He forwarded the emails. It says, hi, Ava. Thanks so much for it. Like, no. Anyway, yes, I'm kind of like,
Holy
I don't know if
moly.
I like that because how many other people are emailing Ava thinking Ava's a pretty crappy assistant?
I've gotten that email from Ava though, and I believe it says in your wording, do not reply. It doesn't say I'm not an actual person, but it says I'm an AI assistant or
Does
it says,
it? Okay, see, and I've never
it
seen it.
says something that says do not reply. Like that message was definitely there.
Okay, so just maybe this person obviously didn't read it. Yeah.
They just
So
saw
listen,
the Ava and figured it was a person.
Mhm.
I just thought that was funny anyway. But we've
Oh,
gone
yeah.
over like usual. It's 5 o'clock almost. So we'll have to get into that other topic. So somebody remind me the next time we want to talk, Canadians doing US or US doing Canadian bookkeeping, that will be our topic next
Don't
week.
do it.
Exactly. That's kind of going to be it.
And
Don't
the
do it.
topic
And
is don't do it.
there is too much to know. You are going to give yourself and the industry a bad name.
Unless you're Esther or Marnie, don't do it.
Yes. Well, and that's because Marnie lived in the States too, right? Like she
Right.
knows that. She's American. She
And
knows
same
that.
with
She knows Canadian.
With Esther,
Doesn't
she
matter.
knows both
Yeah.
systems very well. So
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, but if you're just getting into it, yeah. don't do
Esther's
it.
always been a very smart woman.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. And by the way, Jonathan, I don't know if you noticed, I did respond to you privately in the Zoom, or in the chat. So I didn't know if you had seen that. About your question, I responded back. So
Okay.
So
cool.
where is this found again? You said these are live and you can watch them again.
So these are through Facebook. So they're on Facebook. And then as well, as long as we've talked some business, so like this one will be out there, I throw it out on the channel. There are some where we don't end up talking any business. And I'm like, I'm not going to throw that out on my YouTube. But as long as we've talked some business, I put it out on my YouTube channel as well. And then I share it. So it'll go there and then it'll go out on all my social media channels.
And we're
Because
on
we are
Facebook,
nothing
so-
but business on this conversation.
Right. So
Where-
I'm reading.
Where on Facebook?
So just in the Bookkeepers Corner group, just search for Beyond the Cloud or go to my YouTube channel, which is, I think, Cloud Business Services is my YouTube channel. Just do that. And then again, look for Beyond the Cloud.
Oh, so you look for Beyond the Cloud in
Yeah.
booking?
Yeah. Or yeah, in Facebook or my YouTube channel. And these are the ones that are public every Friday, same time. So you can find them in multiple places. Unless we couldn't go live that day, in which case you're just kind of SOL and you missed all the fun, because when we're not live, we have tons of fun.
We have way more fun, and that's why we couldn't go live.
Maybe it wasn't really technology.
Well,
Anyway.
no, but sometimes the technology isn't working, and so because it doesn't work and we're not live, we tend to be a little more free.
Exactly.
Chatting as opposed to when we are live.
What happens
Other
on
than the
these calls
F-bombs that
stays
still
on
get
these.
dropped.
Exactly. Anyway, so everybody, again, thank you very, very much. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.